Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to rebelnews.com. I'm Ezra Levant, the Rebel Commander over here. I like to do live chats every Friday. There was a brief period where I did them every day, but my schedule, I was traveling around, I couldn't make it. Well, not a lot of traveling going on. My wings are being clipped along with everyone else's. So we've decided to bring back the daily YouTube Super Chat live stream. That's what you're looking at right now. And I think primarily we're going to talk about the Chinese virus, coronavirus, if you prefer. We're going to talk about the government response to it. And we'll talk about other news as warranted. But it's just a way to get more content to folks who were quarantined. And can you go to my Twitter and get that TikTok vid of a guy dressed up as a Purell bottle? Because that's just the kind of content we need during these days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some hard news. I'm going to have some fun stuff if possible, try and keep the spirits high. And I'm going to take questions. I'm not sure if you guys know how a Super Chat works. It's pretty obvious, but for those who are newbies, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, it's a streaming ticker of comments. And I will do my best to look at those out of the corner of my eye. But if you want me to notice them for sure, do what's called a Super Chat. It's a couple of bucks. It puts your question in highlighted color, so I'll see it out of the corner of my eye, and it appends it to the top of that chat box for a period of time. So I'll see it there too. And if I happen to ramble on, our producer, director, control boss, Justin, will just send me an email and remind me. So that's what I want to do. Art Kapustka says that's a drill, New World Order. You know, you're not too far off with that. In my view, whatever the original source of the virus, whether it was people in so-called wet markets in Wuhan eating bats, or whether it was an engineered virus from Wuhan's high-security virus research lab, I'm serious, that's in Wuhan. I mean, I suppose that could be coincidence, that the city in all of China, where they're actually doing research on the most deadly viruses in the world, that happens to be, by coincidence, the city where this virus breaks out. It could be a coincidence, but if you were writing a Hollywood script and sent that to some agent at, Creative Artists or whatever, the agent would say, no, that coincidence, too on the nose. It's too on the nose. I don't know how many people would believe it's a coincidence, but let us assume that the virus was not manufactured by the Chinese military. Let us assume that it was something from nature that perhaps leaped from one species to the next because people were eating stuff they shouldn't have. So let's set aside any government responsibility for the creation of the virus itself and simply handle how government institution after government institution mishandled it. Almost right away, doctors in Wuhan detected this new virus that had certain flu-like symptoms that were impregnable to traditional cures. Can we get that Axios page? You know that Axios page that we showed the other day that had the timeline on it? Can you grab that one? 3 Western newspapers, Washington Post, New York Times, and a Hong Kong newspaper called the South China Morning Post that's fairly free. They recreated the timeline from when the first known patient of this virus was admitted to hospital in Wuhan in December. And it took about, I'm going from memory here, but we'll see if we can call it up. Took about 10 days for them to realize something was really wrong. Yeah, here we are, thank you. So this here is a timeline compiled by different authoritative sources. So this is on the Axios webpage. Yeah, let me start it from here. So this guy, his name is Wei Guixian. You see that December 10th, thanks Justin for one of the earliest known coronavirus patients starts feeling ill. So December 10th. December 16, patient admitted to Wuhan Central Hospital with infection in both lungs, but resistant to anti-flu drugs. Staff later learned he worked at a wildlife market connected to the outbreak. December 27, Wuhan health officials are told that a new coronavirus is causing the illness. So a grand total of 17 days goes by from the first person feeling sick to Wuhan health officials, who I presume at this point are acting like doctors. You know, the Hippocratic Oath, that's the ancient Greek slogan, motto of all doctors, do no harm, you know. But look at what happens on December 30th. Ai Fen, a top director at Wuhan Central Hospital, posts information on WeChat, that's like the Chinese version of Twitter, about the new virus. So Ai Fen, he's a good guy. Woman, forgive me, I didn't know Ai Fen was a woman's name. She was reprimanded for doing so and told not to spread information about it. So you see, December 10 is when the first person gets sick. December 16 is when they figure that something's funny. December 17, they say, all right, we got something new here. It's a new virus. 3 days later, Ai Fen posts something, is told, do not spread information about it. Wuhan Dr. Li Wenliang also shares information on WeChat about the new SARS-like virus. He is called in for questioning shortly afterward. Wuhan Health Commission notifies hospitals of a pneumonia of unclear cause and orders them to report any related information. And look what happens the next day. December 31st, New Year's Eve. Wuhan health officials confirmed 27 cases of the illness and close a market they think is related to the virus spread. China tells the World Health Organization's China office about the cases of an unknown illness. But look at this, on January 1st, Wuhan Public Security Bureau brings in for questioning 8 doctors who had posted information about the illness on WeChat. So it's moved from doctors talking about it to, look at that, Public Security Bureau. That's the secret police. The Communist Party's secret police get involved in a virus case, bring in 8 doctors to the police station who had posted information about the illness. An official at the Hubei Provincial Health Commission orders labs which had already determined that the novel virus was similar to SARS to stop testing samples and to destroy existing samples. January 2, Chinese researchers mapped the new coronavirus complete genetic information. This information is not made public until January 9th. January 7th, Xi Jinping becomes involved in the response. January 9th, China announces it's mapped it. Jan 11 to 17, important pre-scheduled Communist Party meeting held in Wuhan. During that time, the Wuhan Health Commission insists there are no new cases. That reminds me of that amazing scene in Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries, where the Moscow party secretaries fly out to Chernobyl and told, oh, no, everything's in hand here. We have a list of all the guilty people. It's all in hand. Jan 13, first coronavirus case reported in Thailand. Jan 14th, World Health Organization announces, look at this is the worst. Chinese authorities have seen no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the virus. Jan 15th, the patient who became the first confirmed U.S. case leaves Wuhan and enters the U.S. carrying the virus. I won't go through the whole timeline, but can you find the World Health Organization tweet that we've shown before? So you'll see here a few things. So within 3 weeks of the first guy getting sick, within 2 weeks of doctors getting alarmed, actually really within a week of doctors getting alarmed, the police call in 8 doctors. And I'm going to assume those doctors care about their patients. They're full-time doctors. They're not full-time politicians, right? And I don't know how Chinese medical training is, but Wuhan's a pretty big city. And let's assume that they were good doctors. Let's assume they actually care about their patients. How could you assume otherwise? They were curious about this disease. They were worried about it. It didn't respond to normal medication. They'd talk on social media about it. And instead of saying, okay, let's put more resources on it, they're told to destroy the samples. They're told to shut up about it. 8 doctors are brought in. When you can, so bring up that World Health Organization tweet, and after that, can you give me the Xinhua story on January 1st? I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. So do you see what happened? Instead of saying, oh, we got a problem, they bring into the police station the actual doctors. They destroy evidence. Why would you do that? If you're trying to save lives, you don't do that. If you're trying to save lives, you don't tell doctors to shut up. You do that, again, I tell you, you got to see that HBO movie, Chernobyl, if you haven't seen it yet. The first reaction by the local communist bosses was, oh my God, we're in trouble. Yeah, let's fix the problem, but the urgent crisis is we can't tell Moscow what we've done. Don't tell anybody. Don't let the world know. Cut the telephone lines. Deploy the army into the streets. You got to watch the movie. That's what's going on here. But Xi Jinping himself came to Wuhan very quickly. Now, was he briefed on the facts? Maybe. But I think the Communist Party lies to their own bosses too, for face-saving reasons. That's something that, yeah, thank you very much. So this is the Xinhua article through Google Translate. Is that right? You put this through Google Translate? Can you show it for 1 second in the original Chinese? I just want to show people where you got this from here. It doesn't much matter. I'm just, folks, take it from me that Justin, our producer, found the Xinhua article. You can see it's January 1st, 2020. And he just put it through the Google Translate. So that's why the wording here sounds funny. 8 people were dealt with according to law because of spreading false information about Wuhan viral pneumonia online. So this is just to tell you what we're looking at here, this is a Chinese website. It's the website of Xinhua, which, if my Chinese is correct, means new voice. That's the Chinese propaganda newswire. And Justin used Google Translate to put it into English. Xinhua News Agency, Wuhan, January 1st. Reporter Liao Jun and Feng Guodong. The Wuhan Municipal Public Security Bureau reported on the 1st that some false information about Wuhan virus pneumonia was circulating on the internet, and the Public Security Department investigated this. Currently, 8 people have been dealt with by the police in accordance with the law due to the distribution of false information. According to the Wuhan police report, recently some medical institutions in Wuhan have found and received multiple cases of pneumonia. Wuhan Municipal Health Commission issued a briefing on this. However, some netizens publish and forward false information on the internet without verification, causing adverse social impact. After investigation and verification by the public security organs, 8 illegal personnel have been summoned and handled according to law. Wuhan police reminded that laws and regulations should be followed when posting information and remarks on the internet. The police will investigate and deal with illegal acts of fabricating, spreading rumors, and disrupting social order, and will not tolerate them. The police urged netizens not to create rumors, believe rumors, or spread rumors, and build a harmonious and clear cyberspace. I'm not going to continue reading. You get the point. Thank you, Justin, for finding that. If you can find the World Health tweet, I'd be grateful. I know I'm throwing things at you a mile a minute. So do you see, like that? It's incredible to me that that's still on the internet and that hasn't been deleted by China. So that was not doctors or fellow academics or professors or researchers saying, whoa, you got it wrong. That was police saying, don't you say anything to disrupt the clear internet, to disrupt the social order. Be a good netizen. So yeah, they not only lied, they actively silenced the truth tellers. They implied they were criminals. They said that the good doctors were fabricators, they used that word. Cops, what do cops know about the virus? You got Chinese cops calling in Chinese doctors and saying to those Chinese doctors, shut up, don't you say anything, you're fabricating it. You just are. It reminds me of that scene, again, forgive me, it's just such a great miniseries in HBO, where this one boss of the nuclear plant just refuses to accept that the core has exploded. It's impossible. It's impossible. No, you're delusional. You didn't see that. You're mistaken. The core is not breached. Like, you're just so adamant. He could not imagine it being different. Here, I don't think it was like in Chernobyl where they just couldn't imagine it physically happening. Here, I think they absolutely could imagine it happening. They just wanted to save face. Save face, perhaps. They didn't want Xi Jinping to know they had a problem. Perhaps Xi Jinping, the president of China, knew, and he wanted to save face for the whole country. There's this amazing scene in the beginning of Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries, where they have a meeting in the in some bunker, and some old communist boss says, Vladimir Lenin would want you to hush this up and to tell citizens that they shouldn't ask questions. Do it for him. That is what happened here. Did you find the WHO tweet? The World Health one? Okay. The reason I like that one is because, look, China is China, right? It's an authoritarian dictatorship. I'm not quite going to call it a totalitarian dictatorship because there are some aspects of freedom in that society, but it's certainly a surveillance state. It's a police state. It has no independent judiciary. Seriously, police calling doctors in and saying, stop fabricating evidence. They weren't fabricating it, buddy. And when they were ordered to destroy evidence. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So look at this. Look at the date here, Jan 14. Do you see that there at the bottom? Jan 14. So the virus had been mapped. It had been mentioned. This is right around when the first patient goes from Wuhan to America. So China knew about this now for almost a month. So what did they tell the World Health Organization? WHO, that's the acronym. By the way, the World Health Organization is an agency of the United Nations. Look at this. Preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus identified in Wuhan. That is a lie. That is a lie. And you notice that they tag World Health Organization Thailand, where in fact the first case outside China happened, as we just read together. So not only at this point has China not stopped its own people from circulating throughout China, they have not stopped their own people from leaving China, going to Thailand, going to America, going to Iran, going to Italy. Oh, by the way, I'm going to call up that video of Milan, Hug a Chinese Day. Do you know the one I'm talking about? I tweeted it. It's this video. Hug a Chinese was the motto. Not only did China threaten the doctors, not only did China destroy the evidence, not only did China not stop their own people, but China then had the World Health Organization, which it controls, lie to the world and say that it is not transmittable person to person. And they are saying this January 14th. More than a month has passed since the first case. Almost a month has passed since they've identified this as a new virus. They've not just warning, they're lying, saying it's Not saying it's harmless, but saying it's not contagious. Not contagious. This is one of the most contagious things out there. I see a super chat coming in. Sharon Bergstein. Italy created direct flights from Wuhan and allowed over 100,000 citizens from China to move to Italy and work in their factories. You are exactly right, they did. And I do not think it's a coincidence that is why that region of Italy had such a high infection rate. Were you able to find that Hug a Chinese vid that CGTN put up? I can find it if you need help. You got it. Okay. Go ahead and put it up here. Yeah, you can you hear me? Yeah, we don't need any sound there. So this is, you see in the top left it says CGTN. That's a state-run TV station. Used to be called CCTV 9. So here's a Chinese person in, I think this was Milan, or is this Florence? That's Florence, I recognize the Duomo. He's saying, I'm not a virus, I'm human, come give me a hug, free hugs, free me from prejudice, if you don't hug me, you're racist. I think that's Florence. I think I recognized Il Duomo, the most amazing church in Italy other than the Vatican. So that was called Hug a Chinese Day. That's what they called it. The mayor, I think the mayor of Milan proposed that, but I think, can you play that clip, play that whole clip one more time? I want to watch it again. I'm pretty sure I recognize the black and white striping of the massive church in, Florence, Italy. There we go. Florence, Italy, one of the seat of the Renaissance, the most amazing city. There it is. That's that church there. You saw it for a second. Was this guy carrying the flu? I don't know. I don't know who this guy is. But he was standing right outside. And that's a major tourist spot, and it's a place for Christian worshipers. That's an amazing city, of course. If anyone, I think it's the finest city in Italy. Venice and Florence are, well, and Rome, what can you say? So all day this guy's hugging other people. Take off your mask. Breathe on me. I'll give you a hug. I'll give you a kiss. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The Brabinski, $10. This is social engineering, seeing how they can control the population and how it reacts. Freedoms they take now will not be given back. Thanks to all Rebel crew for doing a great job. Well, thank you for saying that. I already read Sharon's super chat. Thank you for that. I think I just got an email with a bunch from Justin. Here we go. Will Ross, like this is how it works. VM Parliament, do you think there will be a currency collapse? Well, in Canada, there sort of already is, because our currency is so greatly related to our number one commodity export, which is oil. So oil is very low. So our currency, I haven't checked, but I think our currency is in the 60s. It's very, very quick to check. Canada to USD. 69 cents. It's just, or if you were to do it the other way around, if you're an American, you come up here, your dollar's worth $1.45. That makes us all poorer in Canada. Everything we import is extremely expensive because we're using mini bucks to buy it. Jimmy Lawrence, hey Ezra, the mainstream media and the PM are talking about implementing martial law. I don't see any political protests happening in the near future. Well, and it's perfect timing for martial law because people are afraid to go out on the streets because of the virus. And who's going to stand up to Trudeau? The media? The media is all on the payroll. The Conservative Party? Have you seen a Conservative in the news in the last week, other than Ron Ambrose, who says she supports martial law? And she's not even an MP. She's not running for leader. But that's the quote that the media are running with. Who is the opposition in Canada now? I don't see any. And I'm not saying we should morally oppose the government on everything. There should be some sense of national unity. I see how Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are opposing everything Trump is doing, and that's not what I'm talking about. But if we are seriously moving towards martial law, there ought to be scrutiny and oversight, and I don't see any in Canada. Mike the Canuck, thank you for being a clear voice in the noise. What is your opinion on certain retailers refusing to volunteer to close stores? Well, listen, that's a tough one. There are some people who can work from home no problem. I suppose I could. I mean, I'm here in the office, and we have about 5 or 6 staff here in the office. And just this morning, we had our weekly meeting, and I said, if anyone wants to work from home, feel free. I think we're all okay here. But we're in an industry you can do that. What if you are in a clothing store? You're a clerk at a clothing store, you're a sales associate. I mean, I suppose a lot of things are moving towards Amazon Prime delivery or DoorDash and Uber Eats. So there are some people who will do well. In fact, I would imagine their businesses would grow during the crisis. But if, let's say you're a young person who's working as a waitress or as a sales representative, a sales associate at some store, how long can you go without a paycheck? I think most Canadians, and I'm sure there's some science on this, couldn't last a month without a paycheck. I bet a lot of people would be out of money in 2 weeks. You know, that's how we live. And then the credit card's due, and then the bills are due, and how are you going to eat? Obviously, I'm concerned about the virus too. You'd be foolish not to be. But there is such a thing as overreacting. You can hold your breath and not breathe in anything, but you can't do that forever. You can tell people, do not leave your homes. But after a while, people are going to say, look, I need to leave my home because I need to make money. I need to get out. I'm going stir crazy. I have to check on my sick aunt. I have to do this. I have to do that. You can't just put the entire world into the freezer. Now, I'm going to do my show tonight on how Taiwan, which is right next to China, which was hit hard by the SARS outbreak that China lied about and covered up. And I've been looking at how Taiwan has managed to keep going through this virus outbreak. They haven't even closed schools. So I've done some studying on how did they do that. Taiwan does not have very many cases at all. Taiwan's got, going from memory, about 25 million people there. So it's about 2/3 the size of Canada. But geographically, they're very dense. The whole of Taiwan is fairly small. It's, I don't know if you know the size of Vancouver Island. That's the size of Taiwan. It's much smaller than BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec. I'd have to check if it's probably the size of some of our larger Atlantic provinces. You got 25 million souls jammed in there. They're so in close contact. They're close to China physically, culturally, geographically. How did they not all die? Given that the kids are in school every day. Well, they have some common sense approaches, including face masks, include tons of testing. I'm not going to get into it now. I got to save some of that for my show tonight. But it is possible not to lose your mind. And can you get Donald Trump's tweet this morning where he says 15 days, we'll see how it goes? Because I understand the theory of freeze everything, stop the spread of the virus because we can't handle any more cases because we've maxed out the healthcare system. I understand that. That's a condemnation of the healthcare system and the lack of testing, by the way. Yeah, look at this. So Trump tweeted it, and he also retweeted it. I don't see that often. I'm a pretty close follower of Donald Trump. Have you ever seen Trump tweet something and then also retweet it? And look at that. It's got almost 250,000 likes. That's a lot even for a Trump tweet. We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. And all caps here, so you know he means it. At the end of the 15-day period, we will make a decision as to which way we want to go. Some people would say, oh, that's wishy-washy, that's flip-floppy. No. Like everyone else, I watched Donald Trump on The Apprentice. And sometimes he would just say, you got to shuffle the deck. You got to change it up. It's not working. We got to try something new. You know, he would just change teams or whatever. I know you probably think I'm silly for referring to that. But that's what you do if you're a decision maker, a commander, which he is, an executive. If something's not working, you say, all right, it's not working. I'm not emotionally invested in it. I'm going to do something that works. And the number of Americans who have been laid off in the last week, I haven't seen the number for all 50 states, but it's surely over 1 million. I saw the number for 17 states was about 500,000. By the way, that's the same number for Canada. So in America, for 17 states, 500,000, it's well over 1 million for all America. So you got 1 million Americans who are out of work. All right, how long is that going to last? You can do a bailout. You can give people $1,000, $2,000. Okay, so that gets them through rent maybe. Then what? And I'm not being unsympathetic or unworried about the virus. I'm saying there are some cures that are worse than the disease. Let me read some more of these super chats. Hey, Ezra, the mainstream. Okay, read that one. Mike the Canuck, retailers refusing. I talked about that. Thomas Crushane, Ezra, it's the evil Bill Gates. You know, Bill Gates is a little bit ideological and globalist, but I do not blame this one on Bill Gates unless you have any evidence for that. I just don't agree with that. There's a lot of bad people out there. I don't know if I'd put Bill Gates in the category of bad people. He's certainly a globalist. He certainly believes in sterilizing or aborting third world kids, that's for sure. He certainly believes in vaccinations, which can be invasive, but can also save some lives. But I do not believe that the coronavirus is a Bill Gates thing. I don't think it's a George Soros thing. I think, as Donald Trump says, it's a China thing. Let's lighten it up a bit. Can you go to my Twitter feed and go to the pinned tweet, which I think is a TikTok guy saying China virus. Can you find it there? I want to lighten it up. I did say I was going to show some lighthearted vids today too, because I don't want to just be heavy. And there's some humor out there. There's some comedy out there. There really is. Reg Porter, $10. I work in Northern Alberta and live in a camp with close to 2,000 other people. We try to keep calm and keep working. Thanks for the support of Rebel News, the only true source of the news. Well, thank Reg. I've been to some of those camps up in the north there, and they're close quarters, and if one guy's got it, it's going to spread. It just is. I think it's probably possible to mitigate the risks there like Taiwan does. Everyone's wearing a mask all the time in Taiwan. They only take their mask off when they have lunch at school, but then they have these sort of, I'm going to call them spit board. It's like a little plastic shield so that when they're eating without the food and maybe coughing or chewing or like the spit, because the virus is in they call it the aerosol. So if you're talking, you're talking, it's embarrassing sometimes the odd tiny little drop of spit comes out of your mouth. It happens to all of us. And even if you don't see it, sort of microscopic, like in your breath is moist, right? That's why you go on a window and it's moisture, your breath is moist. That moisture carries the virus apparently, which is why wearing the mask helps stop it. So these kids in Taiwan, they go to school all day. Every day, they haven't shut down the schools in Taiwan. They wear a mask all day, except for lunch, obviously. But then they sit individually, they have this little spit guard around them where they have lunch. It's really basic stuff, like it's not a fancy vaccine. It's just how do we stop the spread? So that might work in a place like a work camp. Jay Barrett, China's like my first wife. Can't believe anything they say. Thanks for all the Rebel does. Thank you, Jay Barrett. Oh, brothers, Canada's infected with the Justin Trudeau. Our masks were sent to China. Isn't that crazy? You're so right. That's not even a joke. Trudeau sent tons of masks to China because, of course, China needs foreign aid from Canada. And why not send our masks? Unbelievable. Do you have that vid from my Twitter tweet? We're getting it. I want to, okay. Is it the TikTok one? Okay, let's take a look, just for fun. Let's take a look.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? It says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Why do you keep calling this?
That's TikTok for you. I don't know if you're on TikTok. I have a special permit to be on TikTok because I'm over 25. So I had to get special permission. Normally you have to be 16 to 20 to be on TikTok. But one of the fun things about TikTok is it's really a big lip sync machine. You can do other stuff, you can do original work. But half the fun is you get an audio track or a video track and you just sort of lip sync along with it. Go to the next one in that series and pump up the volume if you can. You know when that woman reporter, I forget her name, asked Trump, why do you call it the Chinese virus? And he just answers. And when I checked last night, there were 5,000 people on Twitter making sort of an homage karaoke style video to that. And maybe here, just take a look at the next one for a second.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Because ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
I think it's because everyone's like saying China. Can you play the third one in my series there? And why am I showing you these? Is it because I'm infantile and I enjoy the TikTok? I will admit that's part of it. But that exchange in the White House press briefing room, I think the media thought, we totally scored on Trump, we dunked on him. I think Trump's answer makes sense to me rationally, but thousands and thousands and thousands of apolitical people on TikTok, including people who say on their TikTok that they're not Trump supporters, they say, yeah, duh, he's calling it the China virus, the Chinese virus, because that's where it's from. Here's just one last.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Because ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Why do you keep...
So maybe it's obvious, but these are folks lip syncing to the exchange in the... I mean, you got to admit that's a little bit unusual. We are in strange times. If the kids, the Zoomers, the teens and 20-somethings, instead of lip syncing to their favorite pop songs, are lip syncing to exchange in the White House briefing room, I think it's partly because they like saying China. I want to show you one more comedy segment. Can you get the video I tweeted of the guy dressed up as a Lysol bottle? I tweeted that a couple days ago. I could find it pretty quick. You know how to search media? Just go to my account and then click the media button. It's not the most serious thing in the world. Thanks. I mean, it's just, am I right that you got to laugh? And you got to laugh at the stupidity of things, and you just got to laugh. And there's a comedian I follow on TikTok. There's a little bit of profanity here. I'd say it's maybe PG-13. But what are you going to do? You got to laugh. You got to laugh. Take a look. Oh, well, we'll give that a try. Everyone's trying to come to terms with coronavirus, and we deal with stress in different ways. I think laughing is probably the best way. You've heard the phrase gallows humor or black humor. I mean, the whole idea of awake is that you can laugh and keep your spirits even in dark times. Take a listen to this guy. And can you tell me his name? I forget his name. I want to say his name and give him some credit. Trevor Wallace. I think he's funny.
Last year, nobody knew my name. I was just some dumbass accessory on some dumb bitch JanSport. Now you guys need me, huh? Shit, I've been out since '88. I'm supposed to save the day. Or just because I'm a Purell bottle, I can't smoke? You don't think I'm stressed out? I ain't had a day off in weeks, bro. Everybody coughing. Everybody got that Rona talk.
No, you're smoking.
Bro, I just picked this shit up yesterday. You think I know how to inhale yet? Fuck you looking at? See, I can't even go anywhere on these streets. It ain't safe for me out here. That's why I stay strapped. Some old dude tried to chase me down in a motorized scooter yesterday at Walmart being like, that's mine. Nah, fam, that's a 9mm. Times is tough. I got to put on for me and my family. It's my daughter right here. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm stressed out, but yo, I'm also checked out. This old bitch Peggy bought me yesterday 600 bills, straight cash. I'm trying to quarantine with a chick who 18. I got fans now. I got groupies. I do got bitches.
I'm sorry, I usually don't pump that quick.
Funny how last year nobody knew my
All right.
name.
So maybe I shouldn't have shown that clip, but I think he's a really funny comedian. And what are you going to do? Don't you think you ought to laugh? I mean, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Okay, maybe I'll stop talking about TikTok, but I swear, you know what? It's a reality check because all I do is listen to pundits and researchers and experts and politicians, and I think I know what to think of them, but sometimes you get sort of tunnel vision or you get in a rut, and like this whole debate, why are you calling it Chinese virus? Like that is such an inside baseball talk. I mean, you can see the 3 videos I chose. I did 5,000 videos when I checked last night. I chose 3 of people who don't look like your typical Trump supporter. An African-American man, an African-American woman, and just some other young woman. That's not exactly, all Zoomers. It's not exactly Donald Trump's base. They all thought it was hilarious that Trump had to explain such an obviosity. And that first guy even had written on his screen, you got Trump in a Q&A and that's all you got to ask him. So I find TikTok not only a source of comedy and dance moves, which is very important to me. I like to be up to date with all the latest dance moves, but it's a reality check on all these pompous blowhards in the media party versus Trump. I can tell you who's getting through these days. Jacques Trudeau, $20. If Canadian government blatantly refuses to close borders during pandemic, they're deliberately subverting our country. Only Alberta independence will save Alberta in the long run. Well, that's the thing. Every single day, there are more flights to Canada from China. Heather Skinner, how do you continue to do these live chats? Thanks. Well, I'm just here at the office, and Justin's behind the camera operating the graphics. Thank you, Justin, for reacting so quickly to my demands. I'm not going to be traveling. Like I used to travel a fair bit, and we're really cutting back on the travel because it's so impractical. There's quarantines and for safety reasons. In fact, I said to our whole team, you don't have to do anything that you think is too virusy. You don't have to even work from the office. But we did send our buddy, David Menzies, down to Roxham Road on the weekend. I'd like to play almost the totality of his latest report. Can you grab that? So, as you know, Roxham Road, it's just what it sounds like. It's a little road that's on the U.S. and Canada border, and there's no fence there. There's just a tiny little rut and a big sign that says illegal crossing, go a couple kilometers that way and cross legally. But 4 years ago, illegal immigrants in the United States who were about to be deported from America by Trump realized that Trudeau's an idiot, so they just knew if they just crossed the border into Canada there, they could stay forever. Plus, free healthcare, free welfare, free this, free that. Plus, they didn't have to go back to their real homes. So they were literally self-deporting from America. Over 50,000 illegals just moved from America to Canada, including a number of criminals. Because, of course, if some of these people were under deportation orders for crimes. And it got to the point where word was so widespread that people would fly to New York, get in a cab, go to the port. So they would come to America just to get into Canada. And Justin Trudeau kept this open literally until this weekend to anyone. No fever test, no quarantine. So we sent David Menzies down, and I'd like to show you what he found. So take a look.
David Menzies for Rebel News here at the corners of Roxham and Fisher, really close to the notorious Roxham Road border crossing that we have been reporting on for, well, a few years now. Now, folks, this is very interesting. It is just now afternoon, so in other words, 12 hours since the new rules went into effect regarding the Roxham Road irregular border crossing, as Prime Minister Trudeau likes to call it. Namely, we've been told that no more migrants are going to be accepted into Canada now that the coronavirus precautions are shutting down travel right across the nation. Now, of course, what the federal government, what the Justin Trudeau Liberals say and what they do, you got to take that with a shovelful of salt these days, don't you? So I wanted to go down to the border crossing where I was just 15 hours ago. As you may recall, we put a report out last night just as the dwindling hours of open borders remained. I wanted to simply see for myself if we are indeed turning back migrants. Well, lo and behold, as you can see behind me, folks, the Quebec Provincial Police have locked down this area. They are not letting anyone through except people that live here, and of course the RCMP that are still manning the border crossing station. Has anyone tried to cross the border since midnight last night?
No.
No? Okay. And I spoke to an officer off camera. He didn't want to come on camera. And basically it's for a couple of reasons. One is they don't want Roxham Road to become a focal point for anti-migrant sentiment. There was a rumor, he told me, that there was going to be a protest of people coming down here against illegal migrants, and they didn't want that to happen. Those people, he said, never did show up. Secondly, there are QPP police cruisers and RCMP cruisers to the north and to the, I guess it's the west of me, that are patrolling the area for those migrants that aren't coming across Roxham Road. As the officer mentioned to me, we have a border that starts here and, essentially ends in British Columbia. So they are on the lookout to make sure that no illegal aliens.
You know the name? Now play the game. MTG Arena is your gateway to the CC.
Are coming into Canada. That's a good thing. Now, I really wish I could have got to the point where I was yesterday. They told me no new migrants have come. I would argue that barring the media, and it's not just us, they say all media have been barred, but as of now, I'm the only media that has shown up. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't that prove the government's point that they are indeed getting serious about shutting down this oh so notorious border crossing? But I guess we're under the auspices of martial law. This is a public road, but the police are not going to let me past Fisher Avenue here. Oh, I believe the border crossing is down there, officer?
Yes.
So I'm with Rebel News. My name's David Menzies. I'm just here to see if...
You can go down.
Oh, I cannot go down?
No.
And if I do, that means arrest for trespassing, and then that means, of course, 14 days of being in quarantine. Not something I want to do. So there you have it. As far as the federal government is concerned, as far as the RCMP is concerned, and as far as the Quebec Provincial Police are concerned, there are no new migrants coming into Canada from Roxham Road. And if you need the proof in the pudding, well, it comes down to us. Just trust us. Well, it's just about 2 o'clock now, and things have changed again. A friendly Quebec Provincial Police officer came up to me and said, if you want to take a walk down to the border crossing, it's about, I'd say, a kilometer away. I am welcome to do so. And when I asked why the change in policy, not to look a gift horse in the mouth, I was told that the RCMP had finished the modifications, which apparently was more fencing being erected. I'll see if I can confirm that when I get down there. Anyways, I'm delighted to go down there and see what the situation is. But it's really bizarre, isn't it, that the policy here about who gets down this road and who does not continues to change on an almost hourly basis. In any event, let's see what I uncover once I take a stroll down Roxham Road. I'm just curious, did new fencing get erected? They said you needed time to put up new fences.
We're not allowed to answer a question.
Oh, you can't answer that even. As you just saw, I spoke to a couple of RCMP constables. They're not allowed to say anything, even really innocuous questions such as, did you erect new fencing, as the Quebec provincial police officer had told me had been done.
Não preciso, mas quero batom com máxima.
Or whether any new illegal migrants since last night when I was last here have tried to breach the border. They gave me a card for the communication staff, and I will indeed reach out to them later. I can say that I don't see any evidence of any enhanced fencing. That's not to say nothing's being done. It's just from my vantage point, I'm, a good 100 or so, 200 or so meters away from the crossing where this barricade has been erected, warning of no trespassing. I do, however, notice there's a couple of RCMP SUV police cruisers that are near that white goalpost, if you want to call it that separates the border of New York State and the province of Quebec. And I didn't see that presence here last night. I can't help but notice how bizarre it is here at Roxham Road that there are these no trespass signs and universal no trespass icons erected here. That, of course, is for law-abiding Canadians to abide. I'm sure if I were to ignore that signage and go past this little metal barricade, which would be easy to do, I have no doubt I'd be charged, or at least very sternly warned. However, if you're on the other side of this barricade, and you're not a Canadian, and you're not a taxpayer, and you are clearly illegally crossing from the United States into Canada, well, it's a different story. There are no trespassing charges being applied. Rather, you're getting a gold-plated benefit program, including free dental care. Wish I had that. Well, folks, I've been standing outside the Roxham Road border crossing area for several hours now, and there has been absolutely no activity when it comes to the illegal migrants trying to get into Canada from Plattsburgh, New York. Maybe it's a matter of the Plattsburgh, New York fixers telling the illegal migrants there's no sense coming to the border anymore. As you may know, there was an entire cottage industry in Plattsburgh that's dedicated to setting up illegal migrants to come to the border. You can take a taxi here. They're coached on what to say, what to do. And I imagine business is going to be taking a nosedive if indeed the Trudeau Liberals are sincere about their promise that none of these illegal migrants here are getting onto Canadian soil. On this stop sign here at the corner of Roxham and Fisher Road.
Introducing the Corolla family, including hatchback.
There is one sticker that says "Stop Mass Immigration" and another that says "Mass Immigration equals the impoverishment of society." These are the English translations. So clearly, despite what we're being told by the Mandarins in Ottawa, there are people that have a divergent viewpoint when it comes to letting illegal immigrants into our country. Hopefully, this loophole has been closed, as in forever. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.
What do you think of that? David doing some real shoe leather reporting. Sorry for those ad breaks there that we were playing one YouTube video within another. I'm just pleasantly surprised that YouTube even monetized that video with ads. They're so sensitive about coronavirus, but I think they respected. I mean, it's hard to understand with YouTube what they ban and what they don't ban, but I think they respected the fact that we were doing some actual journalism. You know, you may know that Justin Trudeau has literally banned Rebel News reporters from attending his daily briefings on the virus. What do you think of that? I'm completely unsurprised by that. As you know, Justin Trudeau is at war with Rebel News. He first banned us from the election debates. In October, we went to court and got an emergency injunction and got let back in. Now he's prosecuting, well, he's not prosecuting yet, he's investigating me for my book called The Libranos. And that's been going on for 4 months now. So of course he's going to ban us from the coronavirus briefings, which is too bad because we'd probably ask some better questions than the media party bailout journalists there. But is the story really Justin Trudeau eyeing and umming his way through news conferences without really saying much and basically doing today what Donald Trump suggested doing 2 weeks or a month ago? I guess that is some news, but I think also the news is out there. David tells me he was the only reporter down there at Roxham Road seeing whether or not Trudeau had in fact closed the border. That sort of seems like an important story to me. David's also been going to the airports to see those daily incoming flights from China. Can you go to my Twitter stream and find one of those FlightAware flight trackers for me? I tweeted 2 of them last night, I think. Let me catch up on my super chats here. InfMDA, what does the CCP have on Trudeau that lets them play him like a fiddle? That's not just a conspiracy theory. We know for a fact that there have been huge foreign donations to the Trudeau Foundation that have not been disclosed to the public. Also huge Chinese donations to Canada 2020, a liberal front group. Those, some of them are disclosed. We know Huawei was a significant donor there. I wonder if they have any compromat, as the Soviets would say. Jacques Trudeau, if Canadian government blatantly refuses to close the borders, I already read that one. Heather Skinner, hope you continue to do these live chats. I'm going to try and do them every day. Richt87, have you looked into this virus? Dane Wigington is reporting it as 4 DNA strands, HIV, 1 DNA star spliced into COVID-19 virus. Well, that's shocking. I don't know who Dane Wigington is, and as I read to you earlier from the New York Times, Washington Post, South China Morning Post summary on Axios, China destroyed the first versions of the virus. You don't destroy a virus if you're trying to fight it, unless you're trying to hide something. Why would you try and hide a virus? Islanti, $2 borders. I'm driving Alberta to Newfoundland this week. Well, who knows? Who knows? You might see, I can't imagine they would literally stop people going from one province to the other. But I think Nova Scotia has actually brought in a 14-day quarantine for going into a Canadian province. If only they were that tough at Roxham Road, eh? Oh, brothers, $10. Ezra, please investigate and pressure the government to answer what is this mystery cough going around that everyone is getting. My wife and I had it and still lingers over a month later. Well, I want to be honest with you. I think the last person to know would be Justin Trudeau. I really think he doesn't read his briefings, and I really think he's just a placeholder. I don't know who the true seat of power, who sits in the true throne of power in Canada. It used to be Gerald Butts, but I don't know who it is now. HRH Kylo CA, $2. What a year. First eco-terrorism, then China virus. Very challenging year, and it's only March. Chinook Mountain, $2. Virus is from Manitoba Containment Lab. Well, can you grab that? Google Winnipeg Ebola China. And there's another story, of course, Winnipeg virus RCMP. There is a Canadian virus research lab in Manitoba that sent the Ebola virus to the Wuhan. There we go. Canadian lab's shipment of Ebola Henipa viruses to China raises questions. Justin Trudeau personally approved, or his cabinet approved, sending the Ebola virus to Wuhan, China. What's the date on this? August 2nd, 2019. What about that? And can you also Google Winnipeg virus China? Because the RCMP frog marched a Chinese national out of that office too. John Singus, 3 residents at Mums Markham LTC are waiting for results. Yeah, the slow speed that Canadians are getting results. Oh yeah, here's another one. Canadian government scientists under investigation trained staff at Level 4 lab in China. Still no answers in probe of government scientists expelled from National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg. Let me read the first sentence because they're trying to cover up the facts here. Just the headline is so opaque. A Canadian government scientist at the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg made at least 5 trips to China in 2017-18, including one to train scientists and technicians at China's newly certified Level 4 lab, which does research with the most deadly pathogens, according to travel documents obtained by CBC News. Shengguo Chu, who was escorted out of the Winnipeg lab in July amid an RCMP investigation into what's being described by Public Health Agency of Canada as a possible policy breach was invited to go to the Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory of the Chinese Academy of Sciences twice a year for 2 years for up to 2 weeks each time. I love that. The Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory. Yeah, I'm guessing there's a couple things there we don't quite know about, and the Chinese government wants to keep it that way. The spiked giraffe, $5. The People's Party of Canada wanted to shut down Roxham Road. They wanted to get us away from China. We will see a PPC present in the next House of Commons. Well, listen, I appreciate your optimism. I just am skeptical. I like Maxime Bernier, and I've been interviewed him several times. I wish he had stayed within the Conservative Party, and I know his reasons for not doing so. But it's too bad. Hey, can you go to my flight tracker here? Because I see MU 581 safely landed at Vancouver from Shanghai. Here we go. So let's just slow down here for a second. This is a website called Flight Tracker or Flight Aware. So there's a lot of information here. South China Airlines 329. En route and on time, landing in 9 minutes. Do you see that? Arriving in 9 minutes. Scroll down a bit just to show the map. So that dotted line is its provisional route, and the green line is what it actually flew. So it's just coming into Vancouver right now. You can see China on the west side there and Vancouver on the east side there. Scroll back up. Let me just get some more info on the actual, yeah. So it left Terminal 2 in Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport, landing in just a few minutes, 54 kilometers to go, in Vancouver, Terminal M. And it's been in the air 10 hours and 49 minutes. It's landing in 8 minutes. Can you scroll down? I want to find out what size aircraft it is. So yeah, right there, we got it in the yellow bar there. B789, so I know that means a Boeing 787-9. In fact, you can see a picture of it on the right there. You see that? Yeah, click on one of those. So those, that's a wonderful airplane. I've had the pleasure of flying on it myself, not with this airline, of course. I've flown Air Canada Boeing 787-9s. If memory serves, they carry just under 300 people. Long-range aircraft, very modern, very enjoyable flying experience. But today we're not talking about the flying experience, we're talking about where it's flying from and to. And that plane, go back to, if you click back, if you would be so kind, that plane is now, scroll up, how far away? 7 minutes. You see, can you highlight where it says, yeah, right there. Yeah, 7 minutes remaining, 35 kilometers to go. Can you zoom in the photo? I don't know how not the photo, rather the map. Can you zoom in on the map? Yeah, so that's Vancouver Island there. So that is coming in. Isn't that interesting? So it's coming in, it's over land, and then because if you know where Vancouver's airport is, it's actually in Richmond, it's right next to the water. So you can see the route of this plane. It's going to go south, then it's going to actually go west to make that landing on that, I guess for reasons of wind or the runway or whatever. Vancouver Airport, tremendous airport. And that plane is just minutes away. It is over, what's that? So that's, I forget the names of those individual islands. I don't want to guess wrong. It'll show, is that Bowen Island or I forget what island. But that is basically the greater Vancouver area. That's how close it is. That is a Chinese aircraft from Guangzhou, am I remembering that right? That's about to land in Vancouver. And can you go to yvr.ca? Just go to the website. YVR is the airport code for Vancouver International Airport. And one of my favorite airports, because if I'm there, that means I'm doing something exciting. Can you please go to yvr.ca and then click on, close that, and then click on flights, and then arriving flights, and then scroll down slowly here. So let's look at these. Guangzhou, there it is. So that's what's landing right here. But let's scroll down. Let's see where else these planes are coming from. Seattle, Calgary. Beijing. Do you see that? Air China. So there's a flight from Air China coming in from Beijing at 11 a.m. Pacific. Scroll down a little bit more. And then Quesnel, Williams Lake, Dallas, Fort Worth, Kelowna, Calgary, Winnipeg, Toronto, Victoria. Keep going. San Francisco, Hong Kong. So that looks like a Cathay Pacific flight coming in. Now, I don't have a beef with Hong Kong. They are actually very much on guard, even though they're Taipei. Again, Taiwan, I respect. I feel safe with Hong Kong and Taiwan. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but they are very vigilant. And, there's another Hong Kong flight. I don't feel great about any of these flights coming in, by the way, when we're being basically under house arrest. But frankly, I trust the government of Taiwan. And I got to say, I trust Hong Kong more. There's another flight from Taipei, Taiwan. There's two of them, I guess. Scroll down. So there's a lot from what Sinophiles would call the greater China. There's another Hong Kong flight. So that's a lot of flights from Hong Kong and Shanghai and Beijing and Guangzhou in one day. So don't tell me there's no flights coming in from China. I say again, I actually trust the Taiwanese government more than I trust our own government on this issue. And I actually do trust Hong Kong. Do I trust Communist China? Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, Xiamen? I do like my pronunciation. I do not trust them. Oh, it's 1:06. Let me quickly read a couple of super chats and I got to say bye. Alice M., what is this mystery cough? Oh, I read that already. I don't know. Maybe it's just a flu or a cold. X Factor. Ezra, will Canadians ever wake up and come to the streets to protest and overthrow these clowns, or just keep paying mortgage and taxes till the Canadian Titanic ship finally sinks? Well, listen, in October, Canadians had a chance to throw out the bums. Andrew Scheer managed to steal defeat from the jaws of victory, and there's no denying it. And if he can't beat Justin Trudeau in those ideal situations, then how could we, the moment has passed. The SNC Lavalin scandal, the blackface scandal, it's gone. So, yeah, I think Eastern Canada just loves them, their Trudeau, too much. I think I covered, I think I just got, okay, let me read these last super chats and then I got to go because I got to do other stuff. Jimmy Lawrence, so they are just going to be let in the country. Yeah. No fever tests, no quarantines. Just brochures in English and French, neither of which is the language of Shanghai, Guangzhou, Xiamen, or Beijing. I think I got all the rest of the super chats. If not, would you please forgive me? I think I read the other one earlier. Okay. Can you read that in my ear? Okay, CNE, $2. Thank you very much for that. All right, folks, well, good to chat with you. I appreciate your support, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to try and do this every day, in addition to our nighttime show, which is a little more produced. And let me know if you thought the TikToks were too silly. Of course, they were silly. But I think it's okay to have a drop of silly these days. Until tonight, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, to you at home, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.